Powerful stuff. We'll be speaking to Ebony in just a few moments. Obviously, Ebony very emotional making that piece, but Nasser and Mikey are still with me. How did you feel speaking down the barrel of a camera about this subject?
Well, I obviously didn't get as emotional as Ebony because, as I said in that video, I didn't really experience a great deal of that as a young man growing up in Jamaica, perhaps because I wasn't in that society or mixing with people that would have shown me that racism. But what I want to expand on, though, Wardy, is what I said about education. Education is important unless we just want to continue living the life that we are living and continue just having demonstrations every now and again and a few people saying a few things. And when I say education, I mean going back in history. What people need to understand is that this thing stems from a long time ago, hundreds of years ago. The dehumanization of the black race is where it started. And people will tell you, oh, that's a long time ago, get over it. No, you don't get over things like that. And the society has not gotten over something like that. I'll skip all the gap between those long years ago and make one point and then go backward. That lady in the Central Park in New York, Amy Cooper, I think is her name. If she did not have in her DNA the thought process that she was white, this man is black, if I call a police officer, 9 times out of 10 he's going to be white, I'm going to be considered right immediately. The black guy will have to prove that he's not guilty, and by the time he proves that he's not guilty, he might be dead. She had that in her mind from day one. That is why she said and did what she did. How do you get rid of that in the society? By educating both sides, black and white. I hear people talking about brainwashing. I didn't quite understand as a young man what brainwashing meant. I now understand what brainwashing meant, what it means. We have been brainwashed, and not just black people. White people have been brainwashed in different ways. I go back many years. Think about religion. You and I are supposed to be Christians. I'm not really a very holy person, not a very religious person, but that's what we were taught. Look at Jesus Christ, the image that they give you of Jesus Christ. Pale skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. Where Jesus came from, who in that part of the world looks that way? But again, that's the brainwashing to show you this is what perfection is. This is what the image of perfection is. If you look at any plays of those days, Judas, who betrayed Jesus, he's a black man. Again, brainwashing people into think, oh, he's a black man. He's the bad man. Go through history, Wardy. These lights that are shining on us. You can tell me who invented the light bulb, right? Thomas Edison, right? Everybody knows Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Thomas Edison invented a light bulb with a paper filament. It burnt out in no time at all. Can you tell me who invented the filament that makes these lights shine throughout? Nobody knows, because he's a black man. It was not taught in schools. Louis Howard Latimer invented the carbon filament to allow lights to continuously shine. Who knows that? Everything should be taught. When you go back through the schooling as a young man, I remember my school days. I was never taught anything good about black people. And you cannot have a society that is brought up like that, both white and black, that only teach what's convenient to the teacher. History is written by the conqueror, not by those that are conquered. History is written by the people who do the harm, not by the people who get harmed. And we need to go back and teach both sides of history. And until we do that and educate the entire human race, this thing will not stop. They keep on telling me there's nothing called white privilege. Give me a break. I don't see any white people going into a store on Oxford Street and being followed. A black man walks in, somebody is following him everywhere he goes. That is basic white privilege. Whether that white person went in to rob the place or not, is not going to be thought of that way. And things like that have to change.
We'll leave you there. Come back to you just a sec. Have you experienced racism in your time as a cricketer or otherwise?
It would be stupid for me to say yes after what we've just heard. and after that very strong piece. Of course I have, with my surname, growing up in South Essex, East London, with an Indian dad and an English mum, probably getting it a little bit from both sides, you know, fielding on a boundary in various parts of the world and people saying, "Oh, Saddam, why don't you off back to wherever you came from?" That's small stuff compared to what Mikey and Ebony, that was a very strong piece. The raw emotion of Ebony there, what she's been through, and the cool, calm dissection of racism from Michael Holding was absolutely magnificent. And people will be tuning in and going, "Not this again."
Yep,
Didn't we do this?
constantly.
Didn't we do this with the football? Haven't we done it with the Grand Prix? This is cricket. This is our game. We played with and against black cricketers. We commentate and work with black commentators that played the game and gave so much to the game. The history, I'm not talking cricketing history between these two nations, the proper history that he talks about, makes this a much more poignant series to wear these badges. And all I'll say to those people who say "not again," I sat there 6 weeks ago, put Channel 4 News on, and watched a black man being killed in front of my eyes. And my natural reaction, as you should, was to look away. I can't watch this. I look away. This is someone's dad, someone's brother, someone's partner, someone's son being killed in front of your eyes here. And the next time it came on, because of the protests, I forced myself to watch because I felt something inside me say, "Nas, you've been looking away too long." We've all been looking away too long. The players should be proud of wearing these badges. We should be proud of wearing these badges. But really, 2020, we have to wear a badge saying Black Lives Matter? Really? That should be a given, Wardy. That's my opinion.
And just one other point on that, Wardy. I don't want people to think that I think all white people walk around are racist and think racist things. I want to tell you about a study that they did at the Yale University. Anybody can go and Google it. Other search engines are available, of course, and find the study that was done at Yale University in 2016, not 1916, 2016. They got 130 preschool teachers to go into a room and watch a video. And they told the 130 preschool teachers, "Look out for bad behavior." There were black boys, black girls, white girls. At the end of the video, there was no bad behavior in the video, but they told them look out for bad behavior. At the end of the video, they had some technology tracking the eyes of the teachers looking at the room. At the end of the video, they gave the 130 teachers the results. You know where their eyes constantly looked? At the black kids. Black boys majority, then the white boys, then black girls, then the white girls. That is their eye tracking revealed that. When they revealed the results to the 130 teachers, 129 of them were embarrassed. So that shows you that they were not thinking, "I am racist, I'm looking at black." They did not even know. They were unconscious. One person said they did not want the results released. So you know why that person did not want the results released? The 129 said, "No, release the results. This is embarrassing, and people outside must know what's happening." So we're not telling people that they're outwardly racist. It's not something that everybody walks around and think, whether I'm black, I don't like white people, or whether I'm white, I don't like black people. But it's a society in which we grow. It's almost like osmosis. It seeps into you, and subconsciously, it affects your mind.
We're going to bring in Ebony now, who obviously was a big feature in that piece, spoke very emotionally, and Mikey's speaking emotionally now. Are you in any way, because you've been on a couple of the marches in London, have you been in any way remotely encouraged by the discussions that are being taken place, and as Mikey's just been speaking so passionately, and the diversity of some of the crowds that were on the protests at all?
Yeah, I have to say I am. You know, I would say actually my thought of possibility has opened up. The amount of conversations, the amount of airtime, you know, would we have given this sort of subject this airtime before? I think even relating it to our game and the ECB and hearing the statements they're making, I know we need to look forward to action, but I definitely feel, one, everyone's starting to get it now, even if it's not the masses as such. I think the majority are starting to come on board, but what I feel where we are now is look, it's a very emotional subject, as you can hear. I think it's time to get focused. I want to see accelerated change in all areas of society, but I think specifically we need to focus on our game. I kind of want to talk about two things, really. One, where we are now, and let's be brutally honest about that. But two, I actually think there's an exciting possibility if we all come together, which we're starting to do and collectively talk about it. I just want to drill into our game a little bit, because a lot of people here watching saying, is there a problem in cricket? And many might see Jofra Archer at the helm and think it's fine. Let's kind of look at, does cricket value the black community? I start with positions of power, and you go down the list. Black ECB board members, black chief executives in our game, directors of cricket, black head coaches, black captains. The number is 0 in all those columns at the moment. So that doesn't sort of shed light for our environment in terms of positivity there. In terms of the professional game, we've seen a decline in 75% in the men's game of black players, and many who actually did play came through and learnt their trade in the West Indies. So when we actually start to look at how many black players have come through our system, it's very low. And you compare that to sports like football and athletics. The numbers are actually rising and going in the opposite direction. Even rugby, to an extent, which is most comparable as an elitist sport to ours, we're seeing movement in a positive direction. And then at the grassroots, we're only 1%. And if you really start to dig into some of those numbers, although, the national average is around 4%, but actually if you look at areas like ours, so us at Surrey at the Oval, our borough, Lambeth, is 42% people from a black background. So that's where I actually grew up. So we're talking about 33,000 young kids walking past our doors, our gates every single day, and there's 0 transition into our pathway. So we have to admit there's a bit of a problem. The women's game as well, 0 black players and actually 0 diversity. The last player to play 11 years after me, Sophia Dunkley, but the current team is all white. So anybody who says there isn't an issue, we really need to be honest. And I think we're having these conversations. But I do want to throw forward, because, Wardy, I feel that it's worth taking time to say there is excitement. We launched an ACE program recently at Surrey. We didn't know if there's any talent kids out there. Is the community interested? The engagement was ridiculous. We found talent that's not been on our system that has a potential to be part of the next generation of players coming through. We saw excitement from the community. We found cricket clubs that are not getting supported, but we invest in them, there could be a change. So what I would say is, we're at a stage, if we accelerate change, if we come together, if the ECB links up its plans with all the influencers, gets people into the right positions, has the right conversation, we could change the landscape in 3 to 5 years. I'm very confident of that from what we've seen. But what it takes is honest conversations and real action.
Are you encouraged by some of the conversations that are being had now, and again, the diversity of people on the marches in London and around the country?
Yeah, I'm encouraged by what I see with people marching and the diversity, as I said, of the people marching. But what encourages me more is to see big companies, corporations getting on board, not just sitting back and waiting for things to just die down and to continue as they are. The company we work with here, Sky, they have invested or intend to invest £30 million. That's a lot of money to do towards the BLM movement, to make sure that they can try and make a difference. I see companies all over the US doing the same thing. And that is what I would want to see, Wardy. People are talking about cricket and football and Formula One and golf and all that sort of thing. Yes, sport and sportsmen, they have a platform. They should use their voices. But we have seen that in the past. We have seen that in the past where people have said things and people have tried campaigns, and it has frittered away and nothing has changed. We need to go back into the society and reteach, re-educate people. Because a lot of black people are growing up in this world believing that they are lesser than other people. And that cannot be right. I'll give you another thing about that study. There was another study in 2014 at the same Yale University with police officers, because that's a big problem again. Police officers were shown pictures of black kids and white kids. Kids meaning early teens. And asked to guess their age. And anybody wants to doubt this, they can look them up. I'm not going to call in the search engines, but you can find them. Each police officer was asked at the end how old he thought the black kids that he saw were and how old he thought the white kids were. On average, the police officers gave the black kids age 4.5 years older than they were. The white kids, no problem. They guess their age easily. Now, if you are a police officer you're confronting a 14-year-old and you think in your mind he's 18, 19 years old, your attitude is going to be different towards that kid. That kid is no longer an innocent little 14-year-old. He's an 18, 19-year-old senior approaching adulthood. So your approach is going to be different. So that is something that has to be tackled as well, because we know that there has been abuse of black people by police officers, not just here in England or in the US, all over the place. So that is an issue that has to be tackled as well. We have to tackle this thing from the society. It's a society who come and play sport. It's a society who come and stand and sit in the stands, who cheer. Unless the society itself is cleansed and sorted, we will continue to have this problem.